Hello everybody, very welcome to my channel. I hope you're going to enjoy today's video. So last weekend it's been Easter in some parts of the world, and this weekend here in Bulgaria we are celebrating Easter. So it's a different calendar, so that's how come it's a week later. So today's dessert that I'm going to show you to make is going to be all about lemon curd and what you can do with your lemon curd. So we'll be back in a couple of seconds and then I'll show you what you're going to need for it and how to make it. So for the lemon curd you need 2 whole eggs. Take them out a little while before you knead them so that they are at room temperature. Then I've got 10 tablespoons of 15 milliliters each of the sweetener. I use erythritol here, but you can use any sweetener you like. And if you think you can reduce the amount slightly without affecting the recipe, you're welcome to try it. I've not reduced it, but I'm sure you can. Then in here I've got lemon juice. I've got 2/3 of a cup, so it would be 160 milliliters. And then I've got some fresh lemon zest. You can use 2 to 3 teaspoons. You can even use a little bit more if you like. And that is all you need for the actual lemon curd. Then if you want to turn the lemon curd into a mousse, I'm using 10 grams of powdered gelatin. And I'm using 1/8 of a cup, that would be 30 milliliters of cold water to dissolve that in. And then I've got 1/2 cup, 125 mils of quark. You could possibly use cream cheese. I've not used it, but it might make the texture smoother of your lemon curd and even maybe creamier. And then for the mousse itself as well, 2 egg whites. And I'm going to just add a few raspberries when I assemble the dessert, but you can use other berries if you like. And strawberries would work very well as well. So that is all you need. So we're going to start making this now. So the first step when you're making the mousse would be to do the gelatin bit. I'm simply just going to put the water in a little bowl and then sprinkle the gelatin on top. There we go. With a teaspoon, just give it a little stir and make sure there's no lumps in it. And we're just going to leave that to sit for about 10 minutes. So while that's sitting, we're going to start making our lemon curd. So what I do is I take a small saucepan, I put all the lemon juice in there, and then I put all the sweetener in there. And I'm just going to give that a little stir with a whisk. And at this point you can add your lemon zest, or you can add it once it's dissolved. And now we'll go to the cooker. I'll switch on the heat on a low heat. And we're just basically going to stir this sweetener and lemon juice and lemon zest until it has dissolved. In the back here, if I can show you, I've got another saucepan that's slightly bigger, and I've got about 1 inch of water in there. And I'm just having that nice and hot, because what we're going to do later on, we're going to put our curd over a water bath. So this doesn't take very long at all, probably just about a minute. And what you can also do, if you don't like lemons or lemon curd, you might want to use oranges, or you could use limes. And I'm sure it would be lovely as well. Yeah, so we're just checking, see if that's dissolved. So in the meantime, just leave that for a second. Let me show you here the 2 eggs at room temperature. I'm just going to give that a little whisk by hand. Just breaking it up. There we go. We'll go back to our syrup here. Let's have a look. It's just literally starting to boil. And let's have a look if it's all nicely dissolved. Still a couple of granules there. Just be patient. Swirl it around. In the meantime, I'll just put the water back on. Make sure that's nice and hot. Let's have a look here now. It's quite a large recipe this. If you wanted to make it only for 2 or 3 people, I would suggest just half the recipe and you'll have plenty there. You'll have a little bit of lemon curd left over that you can just use on your yogurt, and it's actually really lovely on a muffin. So guys, that is our syrup now ready. It's totally dissolved. There's no sign of the sugar anymore. So now the next step, you need to be a bit careful. So you're going to whisk your eggs while you're adding your syrup. If our cameraman can help us a bit here. Okay, so while you're whisking, just add your syrup really slowly. Imagine you're making a custard. At this point, it's not thickening yet. We're just really incorporating here, making an emulsion. This curd is a bit pale, but if you have nice free-range eggs, you have nice bright yellow lemon curd. Okay, so you don't want it too frothy. So at this point, I'm going to stop with the whisk. I'm coming back onto the heat here. See, the water's boiling. I'm going to turn it right down so it just literally keeps simmering underneath the bowl. There we go. So now what I'm doing, I'm just going to stir this and cook this until it thickens. So we're going to come back in about 2-3 minutes, and then I'll show you what it looks like once it's thickened. Okay, so it's been a couple of minutes now. You'll see it's starting to thicken now, so you have to be careful that it doesn't curdle now. So keep moving it around. Now I'm just going to add a tiny drop of yellow food coloring, just because I feel it's a wee bit pale and I like my curd a bit more brighter. So that's just a drop of coloring, literally 1 drop. And now you can see it's starting to thicken, really thicken. And I'm not going to put this in a water bath straight away now. I'm going to just leave it nice and hot because of the gelatin I want to add to it. But at this stage, as soon as your curd's nice and thick, it's coating the back of the spoon, you can literally remove it, put in a water bath with ice and cool it off quickly. So I'm going to lift this up now. There we go. So here we go, it's nice and thick, and once it's cooled off, it thickens up even more. So now I'm going to take that gelatin and put it into my water bath here, and switch it off even, and I'm just going to leave that for a minute or two and give it a stir. Here we go. So I'm not adding any water to it. Let's leave that for a minute. We'll go back to the lemon. Here we go. You can see as it's cooling, it gets a bit thicker. Okay, so for the actual mousse recipe, I'm going to measure 1 cup of this lemon curd. And now what I'm going to do while we are waiting on the gelatin, I'm going to just whisk the egg white with the electric mixer till it's really nice and fluffy. I'm going to add a little pinch of salt as well, but you don't need to add the salt if you don't want to. Here we go, in the bowl. And medium speed till it's nice and fluffy. Alright, so now the egg white's nice and thick, and also I'll show you the gelatin. It's nice and liquidy. It's all nicely melted. So now we're just going to assemble. Okay, so the order in which we do this now is really important. First of all, I'm going to add the gelatin and the curd together. So what you normally do with something like that, you would add a little bit of the curd into the gelatin. I'm going to maybe use about a spoonful. So it's almost 50-50. Add a little bit more. There we go. So you don't need to add the gelatin when you just want a jar of lemon curd for the fridge. You're just adding it now for the mousse. Now this little bowl of gelatin and curd will go into the large bowl. So I'm going to just stir it in. You can whisk it in as well if you like, to mix it really well, but not too vigorously. There we go. So this is quite hot now. You can leave this for a couple of minutes to cool down, and then we're going to fold in the quark and the egg white. So just leave the curd for 2-3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes to cool off a bit. Okay guys, so the curd is now cooled off. It's not ice cold, it's obviously kind of room temperature now. So I'm measuring out a cupful of lemon curd, or just a little bit less. If you want to reserve a little bit for your layers, I would just under a cup. There we go. So I put that in a big mixing bowl. It's still a bit runny because it's warm. Once it's set, it's actually a little bit firm, so you could reduce the amount of gelatin ever so slightly, or you could add a bit more of the quark or a bit more egg white. So this is the half a cup of quark now. Now the texture of the quark is quite smooth, but not as smooth as cream cheese and butter and stuff, and cream. So you will see that your mousse almost looks like it's split. So now I'm going to whisk that in, break it up. There we go. Get all the lumps out. But it's got a good texture to it and consistency. It almost looks like mayonnaise at this point, or yogurt. Okay, and the only reason I now fold the egg white in is to make it nice and fluffy. So at this point, get yourself a nice metal spoon. I put all the egg white on top. And now very gently fold in from the center to the side, flip it over, and try not to knock all the air out of it, but at the same time try and mix it properly. So keep going as you go along. You'll see it starts coming together. Just kind of push down gently on the big lumps of egg white. So for those of you who are pregnant, I would not recommend this recipe because we're not cooking that egg white now. There we go. So it's really lovely and light, but at this stage it does look slightly like it's split, but it hasn't. It's just the way the quark and the egg white is mixed through there. So you can carry on mixing, but it will take a bit of the fluffiness away. So at this point I would just stop. And now we're going to assemble it. So you've got a few options now. You can either use a nice big wine glass and kind of fill it halfway or 2/3, or you can use a slightly smaller glass. We've got a couple of glasses here. I've got a nice little whiskey glass. So these kind of portions are good. I will show you what I do. So we'll start with a large one. I start with a nice big spoonful of mousse at the base. Try and level it slightly. A little bit more. And then the next step, to put a few raspberries, but make sure that you put them around the edge so you can see them. And when you pick your raspberries, try to get them that they're still a bit firm. These are a little bit overripe. There we go. I can put one in the middle. And then what I do is I take a little bit of the lemon curd that we reserved in the bowl and just pour it or spoon it in between the raspberries there, just for a little bit of extra color. And the next layer will be a bit of mousse again. There we go. So the recipe will make 4 really large desserts, or 8, even 10 smaller desserts. So on top of the mousse, I'm just simply going to put a couple of raspberries like that. And what you can do if you want to make it extra special, a little mint leaf. There we go. So I'll just plate up a couple more and show you what they look like. Okay everyone, so I've distributed and assembled all our desserts here. What I've done is I've added a couple of edible flowers. There's some grape hyacinths and some dandelion flowers and a couple of sprigs of fresh mint. So let's have a look at them then. So here's the smaller ones I've done in the whiskey glasses, and over here is a slightly different style glass, and then in the taller glasses. So it's really a lovely dessert that the whole family can enjoy. These will now go in the fridge and probably 1 or 2 hours and they're ready to serve. They will just be slightly firmer when they're in the fridge. So you can see here there's 5 small ones, 1 large one. So you could probably do 6 or 7 small desserts, even 8. Okay everyone, I hope you enjoyed my video, and please remember to subscribe if you like my videos. All the information on the recipe, the ingredients, the method will be in the description. And I wish you all a wonderful Easter if it's still coming up. And for those of you who've already had your Easter, you can make this dessert any time of the year. It's really lovely. And I like doing it over the weekend and everyone enjoys a little bit of sweetness in their life. So I'd like you to have a lovely sunny day if it's daytime by you. Otherwise, take care and we'll see you shortly. Bye.